And noticing what you are paying attention to. Paying attention to the movement of the breath in the body. Paying attention to the movement of thoughts and feelings. Paying attention to the sounds of life around you. Paying attention to the moments of distraction, of being lost in thought. And paying attention to the moments of clarity, of simple presence, just being here. And notice how the mind moves toward that which is pleasant, beautiful, attractive, and just tends to want that to last or have more of it. And noticing too how when something's unpleasant or ugly or painful, there's the tendency to withdraw or run away. And this is just the way we humans are wired. It's not a mistake, it's not a personal flaw. Just notice this movement, attraction, aversion. And in the very noticing, there is awareness. Awareness of being attracted, awareness of being repelled, and the awareness that can hold it all. allowing, accepting, not needing to interfere or fix anything. Just allowing things to be the way they are, allowing yourself to be just as you are. So just a moment, I'm going to send myself my notes just because of computer reasons you do not need to hear about. Okay. Okay. Thank you for your patience with me. It is a holiday, and here they are. Okay. Okay, great. Oh, welcome. More people are here. Welcome, everybody. Happy to see you all on this Christmas Eve day. I know, I know. For some of you, I mean, listen, I'm Jewish. We celebrate Hanukkah, um, but a holiday is a holiday, and I love all the holidays. And I got some. Jack brought some red and white roses. Somehow that feels Christmassy. Those colors, you can see them behind me. And yeah, I want to talk today about. I have so many things to share with you. Like the first thing, I want to tell you a story. So I was sitting in a Zen sesshin, which is a 7-day silent retreat, very intensive schedule, with a very intense Zen teacher. We used to say Zen master. We don't use that word master anymore. It has negative connotations, especially for Black people. But he was a Rinzai Zen teacher, very, very strict and demanding, and you had to meet with him 4 times a day to demonstrate your understanding of your koan. And you started practice at 3 a.m, and you didn't stop till 9 p.m. And you might think, oh, great, 6 hours, but it didn't quite work out to be 6. Anyway, the main thing was that there was never more than 20 minutes break during any of the activities of meditation, and then walking meditation, and then eating meditation, and then work meditation. It was just designed so you could never just take a nap. There just wasn't enough time to take a nap. So it was very intense. And in the middle of, and this was taking place, this particular one, I think I sat about 8 of them with him altogether in my life. He was a very problematic teacher. But anyway, this one was at Spencer Abbey in Western Massachusetts, and Father Thomas Keating was the abbot there at that time. This was probably 1977, something like that, somewhere around the mid-70s. And so they had cleared away all the furniture from this big room which was our meditation room, and we were all in cushions in a row, sitting on the floor. And in the middle, it was Christmas, I guess, and in the middle of the, yeah, it was Christmas, which is probably why I had childcare enough to come to that retreat. And in the middle of the room, there was Father Thomas Keating created like a little mass, an altar. That's the word I was looking for. It was an altar. And he did a kind of mass of a Christmas mass, a celebration of the birth of Jesus. And because I had been meditating intensively for a few days before that happened, I just had this really powerful experience / insight that we're celebrating Jesus's divine birth on Christmas, but that it's the divine birth of each one of us. I saw this so clearly. It's just the miracle of being born into existence, into this precious, we say precious human life. And I thought, what? Now I can celebrate Christmas, wholeheartedly. What a wonderful thing. And I know sometimes when you hear this teaching of, it's such a precious human birth, they say in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, or this, I'm saying this divine birth. If you're feeling a little shitty about yourself, it's a teaching that may not resonate. I do not feel like maybe my birth was divine, but my life sure isn't. You may have feelings like this. And that's understandable, especially this is a difficult time in the world. And then for many, many people are struggling in their everyday lives as well. And I just want to say about that, the first thing is, along this theme of it's not your fault, along this same theme, I wanted to say, we live in such a highly individualistic society. We live in a society where it's just very isolating. And this contributes to feeling like somehow there's something wrong with me. And And then you look around at the world and you're like, WTF? What is going on? What is going on? I mean, yes, there's Gaza, but there's also Yemen and there's also Sudan. And there's such a double standard of why is everybody talking about Ukraine? Why is everybody talking about Gaza? Why doesn't everybody talk about the countries in Africa, Congo, Sudan, to some extent, Central African Republic, or even Yemen? Apparently they're having some kind of ceasefire or peace agreement there today. Well, hallelujah. I didn't know about it. And sure, let's not forget the injustice at home here in America. Thank you, Will. So I just feel like, where does the divine, precious human birth come into all of this? Well, I do, from my own personal experience and from my practice of the Dharma all these years, I really do know that this shit, is not going to be going on in the same way 100 years from now. I feel like, this is all coming to some kind of horrible head, and humanity is not going to continue like this. More and more people are waking up to this, that this is completely unsustainable. And I think Christmas or any holiday, these are times, they're special times. And they have their sparkly side too. I mean, a friend of mine was emptying her closet and she gave me this shirt. I don't know if you can see, but it has some sparkly threads in it. They're actually kind of rough, not very comfortable, but luckily they're on the outside. So every holiday has its sparkly elements, and we rejoice and we celebrate, and we need to celebrate. We must celebrate. We absolutely must have these moments of joy and love to balance out all the sorrow and hate that we're seeing in the fighting of the world. And I want to read you, this is from Howard Thurman. Wonderful, wonderful. He was at Boston University, the chaplain or the reverend or the minister at Boston University in the last century. And he said, this is a poem he wrote. He said, when the song of the angels is stilled, when the song, this is like after Christmas, when the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and the princes are home. Well, we have to say when the queens and the princesses are home. But in the story, it's the kings and the princes. When the shepherds are back with their flocks, the work of Christmas year round, I'm adding that word, year round. The work of Christmas year round begins to find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among people, to make music in the heart. So some of it, I think, boils down to, what are we paying attention to at any given moment in the day or all day long? This is a question I've been asking myself, because I've had trouble sleeping since this latest war broke out. I mean, Sudan makes me cry because I have actual real friends who are from Darfur living in the refugee camps in Eastern Chad. And there's something about knowing actual people that makes it so much more heartbreaking. My friend Leela, I don't know if anybody here remembers the early days of InsightLA, when she was actually one of the first teachers to come teach with me, to teach retreats with me in Los Angeles. And she's been corresponding very sweetly with a Ukrainian soldier on the front lines. And she just texted me this morning that he's been wounded and she doesn't know how bad it is. He was able to text her. So, but she feels it now in this personally heartbreaking way that's different from knowing there's a war and people are getting wounded. It brings it on home to us. And I think it makes it ever more imperative that that I'm speaking for myself, but it's true for all of us, need to pay attention to what I'm paying attention to at any given moment in the day. And not to be in denial and refuse to pay attention to painful things, but to just make sure that I'm not missing out on the moments of peace, of love, of joy. I remember years ago, a story, a friend of mine, his name was Jonathan, and he had a crush on and was beginning to date a very cute guy named David. And so he had a wonderful date with David, and then he totally expected to hear from him afterwards. And he didn't get a call. And the anxiety, you know that feeling if you've ever dated, the anxiety starts to build, and he didn't get a call and he didn't get a call. And then he started to resent David. Well, maybe he's not so cool after all. And then a couple days later, he had groceries. He had to put them down and stop on the porch and open the door. And he saw this bouquet of violets that had been sitting there. And he had completely missed the violets that David had come over and put on his porch, probably the next morning, And so that became a theme for me, missing the violets, and asking yourself, are you missing the violets? Life may have brought you something sweet in some form or other, something, I don't know, a cookie, a phone call, your cat did something cute. I don't know. Life may have brought you something really sweet, but make sure we don't miss the violets, because those violets are really, these micro moments actually begin to create our macro day, and those days create our week, and those weeks create our months, and those months create our years, and that creates the life that we have. And I feel like this week is a week when we're saying goodbye to 2023. That this year is ending, and we may say good riddance, or we may say, oh no, depending on the kind of year that you've had. But I think we were all joined in saying good riddance to 2020, but I don't know, 2023 it's different maybe for each of us. But I think this week is a week to really look at, okay, how do we want to leave this year? And I think it's a good practice for when we actually have to leave this life. Like, what do we want our exit to be like? Do we want to leave this year riddled with doubt or bitterness or regret? Or do we want to leave this year focusing on that which we can be grateful for, that which came into our life? A new friend came into my life this past year. I'm very grateful for that. Whatever it might be that you can look back on with some appreciation. Make sure maybe this week that would be, I don't usually give you homework, but that would be homework for this week, to say goodbye to 2023 with the same measure of gratitude and appreciation and love that you might say goodbye to your whole life when the time comes. And I don't think it's depressing or gloomy to reflect on this. This is part of the teaching, and we can see it. I got an email from a Spirit Rock, a young, I think he's a teacher at Spirit Rock, young teacher anyway, who put at the bottom of his signature on the email that he might not get back to people that fast because he's sharing baby care. And I thought, oh my gosh, this would not have happened, 50 years ago, 50 plus years ago, when I had my baby. And I thought, and I just wrote to him and I said, I love that message that you put about sharing baby care. And he wrote back and said, he's already a toddler. It goes so fast. And, you know, you parents, you know, it goes so fast. When you're in the middle of it, when they're young or when they're being difficult, it lasts forever. It will never end. But generally, if you realize it's going really fast. So this year went fast for some of us, very fast. Blink, it's over. And can we say goodbye to it with some measure of grace? So much of our practice is about letting go, you know, letting go of getting lost in thoughts, letting go of our grudges and practicing instead some compassion or loving kindness. So much of this practice is about letting go of the roles that we may have played that we're no longer playing. In my case, for sure, that one, but also really being able to let go of this year, eventually being able to let go of this life. I have another friend whose partner was very severely injured, slipped in the bathroom and hit his head on the bathtub and is now completely paralyzed, can move like a hand, like this much. That's it. This was 2 years ago. And I asked her how he's doing. And she said, the amazing part is he had a complete spiritual awakening because everything else was taken away. All the things he used to do and be, his work and all of that, gone, boom. And he's alive. And she herself is a spiritual practitioner. And she said it has really, really helped both of us see how futile it is to be attached even to your body and what your body can do. And I was very touched by that because of course we know the teachings intellectually, especially those of you, you know, some of you have been practicing a really long time in this group. You know the teachings, but then experiencing it in our lives, it's so different. You know this, it's so different. So how do we navigate all of this, you know? I come back to refuge, and maybe next week we'll do a little refuge ceremony for the New Year, because it'll be, next meeting will be New Year's Eve day. New Year's Eve day. And I just come back to our refuges, you know, refuge in Sangha, friends, family, community. I'm not using the more narrow definition of Sangha as being the people who practice Buddha's way, but really looking at the Sangha of people to whom you feel close and who support you and who, if you're in trouble, you know, would help you. And hopefully everybody has at least one person like that in their community, in their friendship, in their family. And refuge in the Dharma, the methods, the meditations, the skills, the tools that can just help us like a rudder, you know, guide our way through times when it doesn't feel like we have any guidance. And then the Buddha, the awareness that can hold it all, right? It's a miracle. We all have this. It's innate. We're born with this, but we aren't taught how to use it. How crazy is that? We aren't taught how to step back from being completely, you know, engaged in experience to notice the awareness of it. And it isn't about, the name of the poem is When the Song of the Angels is Stilled, and it's by Howard Thurman. You should look up Howard Thurman anyway. He has some amazing teachings. But anyway, as I was saying, we aren't taught how to connect with just the awareness, how to be aware of the awareness. And that is so freeing. It is so liberating. And it may not make sense to you now, but I guarantee you, if you keep practicing, it will. It will. And here's one more poem. This is by Rabindranath Tagore, great Indian poet. And to me, this poem is about trust. And it's something that, one of the blessings of being this old is that you get to see the cycles of your life because you've been alive long enough to notice them. And what I have seen inevitably is that the cycles of loss of a loved one, loss of a marriage, loss of a job, loss of a role, children grow up, you're not a mom in the same way. Grandparents are adored and then kind of forgotten, by the young adults. I mean, this is just the way it is. And when you have seen these cycles, what you see, what I have seen, what you will or do also see, is that each loss, you go through the grief, you go through the hellishness of whatever it may be. Some are more hellish and some are more just natural process, but can still feel a little hellish. You go through that part and then something new emerges that is wonderful, wonderful. What parent could ever let their child grow up otherwise? So this is a poem that I think it speaks to that trust that out of the big losses can come a kind of huge goodness, actually. He says, I thought that my voyage had come to its end at the last limit of my powers, that the path before me was closed, that provisions were exhausted, and that the time had come to take shelter in a silent obscurity. But I find the divine will knows no end in me. And when the old words die out on the tongue, new melodies break forth from the heart. And when the old tracks are lost, new country is revealed with its wonders. We're creatures of habit. It's hard to lose the old tracks. We don't want to. They're well worn. We know where to go. We can see the footprints, right? But oh my gosh, then when new country is revealed, what a joy. What a joy.